My name is Noa Levy, and I am 28 years old. Before October 7th, I was a DJ spinning tracks at Tel Aviv's hottest clubs. My nights filled with pulsing beats and dancing crowds. Today, I tell my story from an ambulance station in Jerusalem, where the rhythm of my old life has been replaced by the urgent cadence of sirens and the steady beep of medical monitors. The music that once moved bodies to dance now feels like a distant echo from another lifetime. I was born in Tel Aviv. My father, David, was a sound engineer for Israeli radio. I grew up surrounded by mixing boards and speakers, learning to read the energy of a room before I could properly read sheet music. Noah, he always said, music is the universal language that brings people together. I met my boyfriend Aiden at a beach party in Herzliya. Our first kiss happened during my sunset set as Jerusalem of Gold, remixed with electronic beats, played in the background. We moved in together last year. My life was perfect. Weekend gigs, music production, a loving relationship, and dreams of taking my sound international. Club Atmosphere was my regular venue. Friday and Saturday nights, I'd watch the dance floor transform into a sea of moving bodies. Young Israelis celebrating life with an intensity that only those who live with uncertainty can understand. My booth overlooked everything. Soldiers on weekend leave dancing next to university students. Couples celebrating anniversaries. Friends reuniting after military service taught it was supposed to be my biggest gig yet. The Nova Music Festival near Riem, close to Gaza, 7,000 young people gathered to celebrate electronic music and peace, dancing under the desert stars. I was scheduled to play the sunrise set, that magical moment when night transitions to day and the music lifts everyone's spirits toward a new beginning. I arrived at the festival site on Friday evening. The stage was massive, the sound system pristine. DJs from around the world had gathered for this celebration of unity and music. We set up our equipment, did sound checks, shared dinner together. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Young people pitched colorful tints across the desert landscape, creating a temporary city of music lovers. That Friday night, I played my heart out. The crowd was incredible, thousands of people dancing, laughing, celebrating life. I watched couples embrace during slow build-ups, friends jumping together during drops, strangers becoming friends on the dance floor. This was why I became a DJ, to create these moments of pure human connection through music. Saturday morning, October 7th, 6:29 a.m., I was preparing for my sunrise set when the first rockets appeared in the sky. At first, some people thought they were fireworks, part of the show. The music was still playing. Then the explosions began and everything changed in seconds. Everyone to the cars. Now, someone screamed. Panic erupted instantly. The dance floor became a stampede. People ran in every direction, abandoning tents, personal belongings, everything. I grabbed my headphones, a stupid instinct, and ran toward the parking area with hundreds of others. The rockets kept coming. Explosions everywhere. Cars tried to leave, but the main road was blocked. That's when we saw them, armed figures approaching from multiple directions. The realization hit like ice water. This wasn't just a rocket attack. We were trapped. I hid behind a car with 5 other people. Maya, 19, was crying silently. Ben, 22, kept checking his phone for signal. Sarah, 24, whispered prayers. We could hear gunfire getting closer, people screaming, vehicles exploding. The same hands that had been raised in dance just hours before now covered faces in terror. We need to help people, I whispered to Ben. He was a medic in the Army Reserves. Are you crazy? We need to survive first, but I couldn't just hide. Through the chaos, I could see wounded people lying on the ground, others calling for help. My DJ training had taught me to read a crowd, to respond to energy, to take control of a situation. Those skills, I realized, could save lives. I crawled toward a girl who was bleeding from her leg. She was maybe 20, wearing a festival bracelet like mine. "I'm Noah," I whispered. "I'm going to help you." Using torn fabric from my DJ shirt, I applied pressure to her wound, something I learned in basic first aid during military service. My hands shook, but I forced them steady. "What's your name?" "Shira," she whispered. "Shira, you're going to be okay. Just stay with me." That was the moment everything changed. I transformed from entertainer to first responder, not by choice, but by necessity. The next 12 hours would test every limit I thought I had dot as the attack continued. I moved between hiding spots, helping whoever I could find. A boy with a broken arm, an older man having a panic attack, a girl who couldn't stop vomiting from fear. I had no medical training beyond basic army requirements, but I had something else: the DJ's ability to stay calm under pressure, to read situations quickly, to make split-second decisions dot by noon. Military and emergency services finally reached our area. I flagged down the first ambulance I saw. "I've been helping the wounded," I told the paramedic. "I know where they are." "Show us," he said. I spent the next 8 hours guiding rescue teams to hidden victims, translating between panicked survivors and medical personnel, using my voice, trained for microphones, to calm people down. That day, I helped evacuate 23 people. When it was over, 364 young people were dead. 40 more were kidnapped. The festival site looked like a war zone: burned cars, abandoned tents, personal belongings scattered everywhere. The stage where I was supposed to play my sunrise set was destroyed. I couldn't go back to DJing. Every time I touched my mixing board, I heard screams instead of music. Every beat reminded me of gunfire. Every crowd looked like a target. The clubs felt like traps. The music industry that had been my life suddenly felt frivolous, meaningless. 2 weeks after October 7th, I started volunteering with McGain David Adam. If I couldn't make people dance anymore, maybe I could save lives. The paramedics who rescued us that day had inspired me. Their calm professionalism under impossible pressure, their dedication to helping others even when they were in danger themselves. Training was intensive: anatomy, emergency medicine, trauma response, psychological first aid. My fellow trainees included former soldiers, recent immigrants, mothers whose children had grown up. We were united by October 7th. Not all of us were there, but we were all changed by it. The hardest part wasn't learning medical procedures. It was learning to carry other people's trauma without drowning in it. Every emergency call carried echoes of that festival. Every young person I treated reminded me of someone I'd helped that day. Every siren brought back the sound of rockets. My first month as a paramedic was brutal. Car accidents, heart attacks, domestic violence, terror attacks. Each call tested my composure, my skills, my emotional resilience. But slowly, I found my rhythm, not the musical rhythm I once knew, but the life-saving rhythm of emergency response. The night shifts were hardest. In the ambulance at 3 a.m., driving through empty Tel Aviv streets, I'd remember the energy of those same streets when they were filled with people heading to clubs. I'd think about the music I used to play, the joy I used to create, the person I used to be. Aiton struggled to understand my transformation. "You're not the same person I fell in love with," he said one night. He was right. The woman who mixed music for dancing crowds was gone. In her place was someone who had seen too much, learned too much about human fragility and resilience. We broke up after 3 months. Not from lack of love, but because I couldn't explain what I'd become. How do you tell someone that you measure time differently now, not in beats per minute, but in response times? That you can't enjoy parties because you automatically scan for exit routes and potential dangers? 6 months later, I'm still learning to be this new version of myself. Some days I miss the old Noah desperately, the one who worried about song selections and crowd energy, who believed the biggest problems could be solved with the right beat drop. Other days I'm grateful for who I've become, someone who saves lives, who transforms trauma into purpose. My apartment still has my DJ equipment covered in dust. Sometimes I touch the headphones I grabbed while running from the festival. They're damaged, the right speaker cracked, but I keep them as a reminder of that moment when everything changed. The calls that affect me most are the young people, festival goers, concert attendees, anyone living the life I used to live. Last month, I treated a 22-year-old girl who overdosed at a rave. As I worked to stabilize her, I thought about how I might have been playing that same party just a year ago. Am I going to die? She whispered. No, I said, adjusting her for, you're going to live. And you're going to remember this moment every time you make choices about your life. She recovered. 2 weeks later, she found me on social media to say thank you and that she'd entered rehab. These moments remind me why I changed careers, not just to save lives, but to give people second chances. The Nova survivors have our own WhatsApp group. We share updates, support each other through anniversaries and flashbacks, celebrate small victories. Maya, the girl I met behind the car, is studying social work now. Ben, the reluctant medic, has joined the police. Sarah works with trauma victims. We're all different people than we were before. October 7th, I've learned that trauma doesn't just destroy, it can also create. It forced me to discover strength I didn't know I had, purpose I didn't know I needed, a calling I didn't know existed. The music industry taught me to read energy and respond to crowds. Emergency medicine taught me to read vital signs and respond to crises. Both require intuition, quick thinking, and the ability to stay calm under pressure. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if October 7th never occurred. Would I be touring internationally now? Would Aiton and I be married? Would I still be measuring success in crowd size and social media followers? That parallel life feels like a song I can't quite remember, familiar but distant, beautiful but no longer mine. Last week, I was called to treat victims of a bus bombing in Jerusalem. Among the wounded was a young DJ, his laptop broken, his dreams temporarily shattered. As I worked on his injuries, he recognized me. You're Noa Levy, he said. I saw you play at Atmosphere last year. Different life, I replied, focusing on his wound. Are you still making music? I paused. Different kind of music now. The kind that helps people keep breathing. He smiled despite his pain. That's the most important kind. Working nights, I see a different side of Israel. Not the vibrant, celebrating country that dances until dawn, but the vulnerable, hurting country that bleeds in emergency rooms. I treat soldiers with PTSD, mothers who've lost children, elderly people with no family, immigrants struggling to build new lives. Each call reminds me that survival isn't just about escaping immediate danger, it's about finding ways to keep living. Afterward, the hardest calls are the children. Last month, I treated a 10-year-old girl injured in a playground rocket attack. As I held her hand in the ambulance, she asked if her friends were okay. I didn't know how to answer. 3 of them hadn't survived. How do you explain to a child that the world isn't safe, that evil exists, that sometimes bad things happen to innocent people? Will you stay with me? She whispered, until you're safe. I promised. She recovered. Her parents sent me a drawing she made, a stick figure in a paramedic uniform with wings. Below it, she'd written, "Thank you for being my angel. I keep that drawing in my ambulance." On difficult days, when I question whether I made the right choice leaving music, I look at it and remember why this work matters. Music brings joy to people's lives, but emergency medicine gives people lives to enjoy. The anniversary approaches, October 7th, 1 year later. The Nova site has become a memorial. Some survivors are planning a gathering, a way to honor those we lost and celebrate those who survived. I've been asked to speak, to share my story of transformation from DJ to paramedic. I don't know what I'll say. How do you sum up a year that changed everything? How do you explain that sometimes the worst day of your life can also be the beginning of your most meaningful life? Maybe I'll talk about rhythm, how life has different rhythms, and sometimes a traumatic event forces you to find a new beat entirely. How the rhythm of emergency medicine is different from electronic music, but both require precision, timing, and the ability to respond to what's happening in real time. Or maybe I'll talk about mixing, how a DJ takes different sounds and blends them into something new, and how trauma forces you to take the broken pieces of your old self and mix them with new experiences, new purposes, new understanding until you become someone entirely different, but somehow still authentically you. The truth is, I'm still living the nightmare. Not every day, but some days. Certain sounds trigger flashbacks. Crowded spaces make me anxious. I scan every room for exits and threats. I wake up sometimes at 6:29 a.m. in a cold sweat, reliving those first moments when everything changed. But I'm also living something else, a life of meaning I never expected to find. Every person I help heal is a victory over the evil that tried to destroy us. Every life saved is proof that love and dedication can triumph over hatred and violence. Every day I choose to get in that ambulance is an act of resistance against those who want us to live in fear. My mother visits sometimes, brings soup, asks if I'm happy. It's a complicated question. I miss the simplicity of my old life, the pure joy of making people dance. But I found something deeper now, the profound satisfaction of making sure people keep breathing, keep living, keep having the chance to dance again someday. Are you okay? She asked last week. I thought about it for a long time. I'm different, I finally said. But I'm exactly who I'm supposed to be now. The young man I treated after the bus bombing sent me a message yesterday. He's performing again, his music inspired by themes of survival and resilience. He's dedicating his next album to first responders. You saved my life, he wrote. Now I want to help others heal through music. That's when I realized something beautiful. I didn't stop making music. I just changed instruments. Instead of turntables and speakers, I use medical equipment and ambulances. Instead of beats per minute, I monitor hearts per minute. Instead of making people dance, I make sure they can keep dancing. Tomorrow night, I work another shift. The radio will crackle with emergency calls. I'll drive through the same streets where I once performed, now responding to crises instead of creating celebrations. I'll treat wounds instead of mixing tracks, save lives instead of spinning records. And maybe, when the shift is over and the sun rises over Tel Aviv, I'll go home and touch those broken headphones again. Not with sadness for who I used to be, but with gratitude for who I've become. Because sometimes the music stops, but the rhythm of life goes on. I am Noa Levy. I was a DJ who created joy through music. Now I'm a paramedic who preserves life through medicine. The nightmare of October 7th took away one version of myself, but it gave birth to another, someone stronger, more purposeful, more essential than I ever knew I could be. Some people say I lost my calling that day. I think I found it. Because in the end, both music and medicine are about keeping the beat going, one for celebration, one for survival. And right now, the world needs more people dedicated to survival, to healing, to making sure the music can play again someday. Every life saved is a song that gets to continue. Every person healed is a melody that doesn't end. Every emergency call answered is a remix of tragedy into hope. The festival is over, but the music of life plays on. And I'm still here, still listening, still responding to every beat.